What's up, everyone? Hopefully you're doing well, and hope you had a good day yesterday. We had a good day yesterday. Slightly less eventful than Christmas Day. So every year for the last few years, we've gone and spent Christmas Day with my great nan, having Christmas dinner with her. She can't get out of the house. Like, she used to be able to get out of the house, and we used to go to the restaurant and whatever for Christmas dinner. But the last few years, it's kind of been a yearly tradition that we go to my great nan's house and we have Christmas dinner with her and spend the day with her. And that was no different on this Christmas Day this year. So, Wednesday, Christmas Day, we went round there. Well, my mum and my nan and my dad went round there a bit earlier so they could start doing the dinner. Me and my uncle walked round there about 1 o'clock, and we got there for about 1:15. So obviously, after about half an hour, my mum and my dad started dishing the dinner up. My mum and dad dished the dinner up, and we sat down and started eating. After about 5-10 minutes, my dad started complaining that he felt really hot. Now, it was quite hot in my great nan's living room. So he got up and he opened the back door. He opened the door that led out. So with my nan's house, she has the kitchen, and there's a door in the kitchen that leads out onto she has like a back balcony, and there's a door that leads out onto the back balcony from the kitchen, and then there's a door in the living room that also leads out. If you open that, also leads out onto the back balcony. My dad opened that door in the living room that led out onto the back balcony, and he went out onto the back balcony. And after about 5 minutes or so, my dad and Mark got up to check on him, and he'd gone down on the floor. Basically, my dad had passed out. But he was lucky he didn't injure his face. He kind of went face first down onto the concrete floor. There was like a table on the back balcony. He sort of landed with his head under the table and near enough in a plant pot. Now, obviously, he was down for about 5-10 minutes. I was stood by that door that led from the living room onto the back balcony, and the man was stood by the kitchen door. And he wasn't getting up. Now, Mark kept saying to me, is he getting up? But kept saying to us, is he getting up yet? Is he getting up yet? And he kept saying, no, he's not. He did start getting up. He sort of got up on all fours, and then he sort of laid back down again, and sort of lost consciousness again for a few seconds. Overall, it was a good 10 minutes at least before he was kind of fully able to get back to his feet. He was a bit kind of disorientated, as to be expected, but he was down. As I said, he was laying down for about 4 or 5 minutes, and then he started getting up onto all fours, and then he sort of laid back down again and went unconscious again, and that's never happened before. Now, obviously, we know what the cause of this incident was. It was so hot in my great nan's living room, and it sort of got overheated, I guess, and it caused him to pass out. Now, the problem here, obviously, we did find an ambulance, and they didn't send one out, they didn't see it as a priority. He was breathing and all that, so they didn't see it as a priority to send an ambulance out. They said that, basically they said that my dad had to make his own way to A&E rather than them sending an ambulance out if needed, to be honest. Which I thought was a bit, stupid to say, oh, well, he's got to make his own way to the hospital and everything. How are we supposed to get there? Like, none of us had any money for a cab if we needed one. There was no public transport on Christmas Day, so we would have been fucked at the end of the day. Obviously, this, I think, needs to be investigated, what's causing him to collapse, but this has happened before, like 3 or 4 times now. He has collapsed. He's collapsed twice at my nan's. Once he collapsed in the garden, and then another time he collapsed in her hallway, in the passage by the front door. And then he collapsed when he was out with my mum one day. My mum wasn't really feeling well that day either. He said he was going outside to shop at Stratford, And he said they were like in the old shopping centre, and he said he was going that they'd gone into a house that we used to go into down his pantry. And my dad had said that he was going outside to get some fresh air. And he was gone for a little while, and my mum started to get a little bit worried. And she went out to see where he was, and he'd passed out on the floor. So she called for an ambulance, and they took him in. And it happened once when he was out with me as well. I'll never forget this particular day. It was a Saturday, and we'd gone out this particular day, me and my dad, and we'd gone up to Stratford. And we'd been walking around Westfield, done what we needed to do in there. And it was about 11:15, not 12. And my dad said to me, do you want to go and get something to eat? So I said, yeah, okay. So we went over to the old Stratford shopping centre to this house that we always used to go into all down his pantry. And we went in there. I ordered a beans on toast, and my dad ordered a cheeseburger and chips. And we sat down. The lady brought us our food and everything, brought us our lunch. As I was eating my lunch and he'd started eating his, all of a sudden he went a bit funny. He started sort of laying his head on the table, like he was going all like that, laying his head on the table. And he kept saying to me, hey, and he kept saying to me, give me a minute. Obviously I didn't know what was going on, the other people that were in there, they were sort of saying to me, hey, and all I said was I don't know. And he kept saying to me, give me a minute, and saying to me, hey, and he kept sort of saying to me, give me a minute. And all of a sudden he just went down on the floor. And one of the girls that worked in the house, she ran to get one of the security guards who knew first aid. He came and was helping my dad. I was trying to call my mum. Now, I didn't immediately think to call an ambulance. My immediate thought was to call my mum and let her know that my dad had collapsed on the floor. Obviously, it was really scary because it was like the first time that it had happened in front of me. I remember my mum was really scared after this incident. She wouldn't let my dad take me out on his own. She was worried that it would happen again. She was worried that we'd be out one day and it would happen again. She didn't want it to. She was very reluctant to let him take me out until it had been properly investigated. Obviously to fight until they were able to determine the cause of what was actually causing him to pass out. Now, obviously, I think we've always kind of assumed that it was something to do with his heart. I mean, we know that his dad had a heart. His dad died young. He had a heart problem, and my dad did actually have a heart attack when he was 21. I mean, we've all, maybe he does have a heart issue. I don't know. But there has to be something that is causing him to pass out. I mean, it doesn't happen often, which is a good thing. At least it's not happening, it's not happening all that often. But it has happened at least 3 or 4 times now. Obviously, we know what the cause of him collapsing on Christmas Day was. We know that it was obviously because it was so hot in that late Nan's living room and that caused him to overheat. But it has happened on other occasions. He has passed out and there doesn't really seem to have been any explanation for explanation for causing that. Now, obviously, it is concerning. It is worrying because you're thinking to yourself, what if something is seriously wrong? But who knows, it could be. And I think, when you see him, when you see him pass out like that, it puts that fear in you. It makes you think, what if he passes, what if he collapses one day and he doesn't get back up? It's I think that I'm always on the fear that, that I think that fear is always going to be there. Like, what if he collapses one day and he doesn't get back up? Like, it just seems so random when it's happened. Like, one day he was in my nan's garden helping out to trim some weeds and stuff, and then all of a sudden he just collapsed. Another day he was at my nan's and he was out in the living room and he collapsed. He was out in the hallway and he collapsed. And obviously he collapsed when he was out with my mum, and obviously he collapsed when he was out with me. Obviously both times we happened to be at the Stratford shopping centre, and he collapsed. So yeah, I mean it's happened a good few times. You know, this incident where he collapsed on Wednesday, on Christmas Day, isn't the first time that he's passed out like that. I mean, was it just the heat? Like, maybe the heat, I feel like the heat was the main cause of, like, was it contributing, like, the heat in my nan's, in my nan's living room was a contributing factor to to him collapsing on Wednesday, but I just feel like it wasn't the main cause for him collapsing. Now, what was weird was that the other day, he had an episode where his hand just went completely dead, like he couldn't feel anything. Like, he could feel, like, from his arm, like, he could feel his arm, he could feel his elbow, like, his whole arm was fine, his elbow was fine, but he couldn't feel his left hand. His left hand went completely numb, and he called 111, and they said, just keep an eye on it. And obviously, thankfully, like, the sensation came back after a while. But then the next day, he had a similar incident with his right hand. His right hand was completely dead, and he couldn't feel that. And again, obviously, he called 111, but they didn't do anything. But yeah, I mean, it's just weird, I mean, obviously, this year has been a tough year for my dad. Obviously, he lost his job several months ago. He was basically sacked after some allegations were made against him and 3 other male members of staff by a female employee who claims that she'd been, well, we don't know what the claim was. I think the claim was that she had been touched inappropriately by my dad and 3 other male employees. Now, obviously, they all lost their jobs. Him and his 3 other men, they've all lost their jobs. He doesn't have a CV. He doesn't have any qualifications. He doesn't have a driver's license. So, the problem is there's so many factors that go against him getting another job, like his age is a factor. He's like 61 now. He has various different health issues, including quite severe sciatica. When he gets that, when he gets that sciatica, he's in quite a great deal of pain with his back. Obviously, he has to take medication for that. Obviously, he's having these incidents where he collapses, he passes out from time to time, and we've never known what's actually causing him to pass out. Like, they've never investigated it. They've never looked into what's causing it. And I just feel like they should be. I feel like they should be looking into it. They should be trying to find out if there's a cause, a main cause, for him to be blacking out like that, because it's just so, it's just not right, the fact that he's blacking out like that. And it's really, as I said, it was really weird, because he was down for about 4 or 5 minutes, and then he sort of started getting up. He was on all fours, and then he just went back down again, and he lost consciousness again. And I don't think he's ever done that before. Like, he's never sort of hung around and then, lost consciousness again, which is what happened on Wednesday. He sort of started humming round. He was up on all fours, and then he just went down again. It was, as I said, it was a good 10 minutes at least before he was able to properly get back to his feet. Obviously, he was very disorientated afterwards, but, the fact that it took that long for him to be able to properly get back to his feet is a bit concerning. You know, he was down. I mean, even when he collapsed, when he was out with me when he was out with me that day, he wasn't down for that long. He was only out of it for a good. He was only out of it for a few minutes before he started. He started getting back up. And obviously they gave him like a bottle of water, and he was drinking. They said to him, drink that. But yeah, he's never been down for as long as he was on Christmas Day. Like, he was down for quite a while, which is why my mum was panicking a little bit and called the ambulance, because he wasn't getting back up. And he'd sort of gotten back up on all fours and then laid back down and lost consciousness again. Like, it was a bit, it was scary seeing him laying on the floor like that. It's never nice to see. You never want to see one of your family members kind of laying on the floor like that, completely unconscious. But obviously it's not the first, sadly for me, it's not the first time I've seen my dad laying on the floor unconscious like that, as I've seen it before now. Obviously when it happened when we were out, I was a teenager at the time. I was still in secondary school. I think I was in year 10 at the time, maybe year 10 or year 11 when it happened. And it sort of knocked me for six a little bit, because when I saw that happen when we were out shopping, like, it was the first time I'd ever seen that happen. So I was like, and it sort of knocked me for six a little bit, because I didn't quite know what to do in that situation, or like I didn't know what I was supposed to do in that situation. But there you go. Like, it was really weird. Just, I don't know what else to say. Like, it was so eerie. Well, not eerie, but it was scary is what I would say. Like, obviously, thankfully he's been okay. He was okay yesterday. He's okay today. He was okay Christmas Eve, which was noticeable. He was fine on Christmas Eve, but Christmas Day he just passed out. Like, obviously I guess the heat, or like as I said, it was quite warm in my right nan's living room, so maybe that was a contributing factor to him collapsing. But I don't feel like it was the primary reason or the primary cause for him collapsing like that. I feel like there is a primary cause, or there is a primary reason for him passing out like that, but we don't know what it is because it's never been investigated, it's never been looked into. But I feel like there has to be an answer for what is causing him to pass out like that. There has to be a reason. There has to be something that is causing that. But it's just a matter of the hospital actually investigating it and looking into what it is. Because it has to be something. Because it can't just be passing out like that for no reason. There can't just be no reason or no primary cause for him passing out like that. There has to be a reason. There has to be something that is causing this. It's scary when it happens. It's really, really scary when it happens. I mean, as I said, thankfully it's not something that happens all that often, but it does happen. I think this is the first time it's happened this year, though. Funny enough, I don't think he's had another episode like that this year, as far as I can remember. So this incident on Christmas Day was the first time he sort of passed out in actually quite a long time. Actually a long time, and I think, hopefully it won't happen again. But I'll say it won't happen again, because it could happen again, and it probably, and the saddest thing is, it probably will happen again. He probably will pass out again, and I feel like we'll never know what is actually causing him to pass out. We'll never know if there isn't an actual reason for what's causing that. Who knows? So I hope you enjoyed this little video, and I'll see you for a new video very soon. Bye bye.